Hey guys, before we begin, I'm just here to let you all know that this video is proudly sponsored by the lovely folks over at A-Team with their hit mobile action RPG, Valkyrie Connect. Loosely based on Norse mythology, Valkyrie Connect is a fun-filled game with its simple yet highly addicting gameplay, a plethora of cool and cute characters, and their over-the-top special abilities and dazzling animation. You can also participate in a variety of modes, including co-op raid battles against massive bosses to earn a variety of special items, and multiple PvP arenas in which you can face off against your friends and enemies. And in conjunction with the game's limited time collaboration with the Hatsune Miku Expo 2018 Europe Concert Tour, players can obtain the collab exclusive character Mecha Fist Rin for free just by logging in. Players that continue to log in for 14 days can obtain an additional 5-star hero for absolutely free as well. The game is available on both iOS and Android, so make sure to go down and click the links in the description below if you're interested in joining in on the fun. Anyway, thanks again to A-Team and Valkyrie Connect for sponsoring today's episode, and I hope you enjoy the video.
Yeah.
How's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man. Unpopular opinions, you hate them, I debate them. So let's fight! I just woke up, so shut up. We're back with another episode of everyone's least favorite show. Let's Fight, the show where I asked you guys over on Twitter for your unpopular opinions on anime, manga, otaku culture, anything you would like to discuss that you think that I could fight back on, and I pick fights with a bunch of you on the internet. You're welcome. I still haven't learnt my mistakes from the last couple of episodes because these are too fun to make and you guys seem to enjoy them. So without further ado, let's fucking fight! Anime culture doesn't not equal Japanese culture. Wait, you have a double negative there. It doesn't not equal, so it does not equal, not cancel out. So you're saying anime culture does equal Japanese culture. Yes, that is certainly a unpopular opinion, but in this case it's more like a wrong opinion. I definitely do want to do more videos on my channel where I try and stray away from 100% anime content. Like, you know, I want to show you guys some other awesome rural places in Japan, and, you know, some things about Japanese culture that don't necessarily have to do with otaku culture. I know, it exists, but yeah, I'll figure that out for another time. In this case, I can't really fight your opinion, because it's fire. This season is the best season of the year, and at least 3 of the best 10 anime of the year will be of this season. I feel like I hear this every goddamn season now. Like, I don't know what to think about this anymore. Like, I swear, every new season people are saying, oh man, this season is better than the last. This season is better than the last. This one? No, this one, I swear, boys, is the best season, I swear. Where, if you ask me, I don't know if it's because I've been kind of burnt out on anime recently and haven't been watching as much anime as I used to back in my early 20s and late teens, but I don't know, just anime, every new season of anime, and especially this new season, there's probably like 3 shows that I'm interested in at most. And it's been like that consistently for, I'd say, the past couple of years in my case. Like, it's just, there are these maybe like 2 or 3 really popular shows, you know, obviously besides the long-lasting ones like My Hero Academia and One Piece and all that shit, but like, you know, new stuff of each season. There's maybe like 2 or 3 shows that people are talking about, and then the rest just disappears in obscurity. Whereas I remember back in like 10 years ago, right? You're thinking back to like 2008 anime. Every single series, or almost every single series of that year and of that season of every year was being talked about, was being discussed in one way or another. Whereas nowadays you have 40 to 50 series per season and 3 or 4 of them get talked about the most, right? So you have maybe 1/10, maybe 1/9 of anime that come out that season that has been consistently talked about, and then the rest are just like, who the fuck cares? So yeah, maybe the quality of anime has increased over the years, and in terms of, say, like visual aesthetics and audital aesthetics and stuff like that, I'd say it definitely has improved. Like 2018's anime has definitely shown us some absolutely beautiful, both visual and auditively beautiful series in the past couple of years. But in terms of like the overall quality of show and the longevity of the show, I don't know, the golden ages, like 2004 to 2009, I would say was the best era of anime. And in terms of the best season of the year, I don't know, man, the winter season of this year, like the season that kicked off 2018, was just really fucking good. Like, there are a lot of good shows in the winter season, so I don't know, that's just me. Inuyasha is absolute trash and I love it. I mean, Not really. I don't understand why people call Inuyasha trash. Maybe because it's popular and it's, you know, mainstream shonen. But I don't know. Something that Inuyasha, I feel, has a lot of redeeming qualities to it that not many other shows of the same amount of critical and commercial success have really lived up to. I think one thing that made Inuyasha just so much greater, and I'd say less trash if I were to fight back on this particular argument, is the fact that it is written by Takashi Rumiko, aka is written by a female manga artist. And I know that may sound trivial at first, but the way that Takashi Rumiko managed to empower female characters, especially in the case with characters like Kagome in Inuyasha, really brought a different shift, I guess, to the way that female characters were being portrayed in anime. It's kind of the equivalent of how Sigourney Weaver treated the main character of Alien, or how she portrayed the main character of Alien, this powerful, strong female. Now, I'm obviously not saying that Inuyasha was the first anime to ever make an empowering and powerful female lead, absolutely not, but Inuyasha did it in a way that was commercially and critically successful, a way that the mainstream could very easily process and pretty much be okay with. Although the main character of Inuyasha is technically Inuyasha, the way that Kagome kind of interacts with Inuyasha, the way that she decides moral actions within the show, and the way that that affects Inuyasha's moral actions and fights throughout Inuyasha is what makes Kagome such an interesting main heroine. So I don't know, man. Like, I don't understand why Inuyasha is trash. Like, I genuinely think it's a really well-written show. Like, I don't think it's trash at all, and I fucking love it for that. As a multimedia franchise which includes anime, music, games, live concerts, etc., Bang Dream is a better series than K-On! Oh, and Roselia is a much more superior band than Hokago Tea Time. And I feel the only reason that's the case is because they learned from K-On! Bang Dream has a little bit more of an advantage that K-On! Didn't quite have. It's because Bang Dream is synthetically made to basically live on K-On!'s legacy, or basically the legacy that K-On! Built within the whole anime music scene that it first created when the anime came out. If the roles were reversed, if Bang Dream came out, you know, 10 years ago and K-On! Came out today, then K-On! Would have so much more of an advantage because it has past examples to work off of. Whereas K-On! Was a really interesting entry because it was really the first kind of anime to do what it did. It was the first kind of anime to introduce this all-female, you know, music group, which then brought along these different collaborations in multimedia franchises. You know, you had live performances from the voice actors of K-On! Who did concerts. You had, you know, bands like Hokago Tea Time that were created, a fictional band that was created within an anime. And yes, there are examples of past works of stuff like that, like, you know, Mongolian Chop Squad in Beck, or manga series like Nana, for example. But Hokago Tea Time was probably the most influential example of taking that concept and moeifying it, which at the time that K-On! Came out was a huge movement that was starting to happen in the otaku community, especially in Japan. The idol culture and the anime culture were slowly starting to merge, and Hokago Tea Time was basically the perfect concoction of that result. And so Bang Dream obviously saw that success and was like, oh, let's make a series that purely is made for multimedia franchise. Like, the thing is, K-On! Was made for the, not really for the intention of becoming this huge successor in multimedia franchises like Bang Dream was. I mean, fuck, if you read the manga of K-On!, the original manga that the anime series is based off, you would know that it has nothing to do with what the anime actually showed. Like, the anime is essentially, at that point, basically just taking the idea of the K-On! Manga, but then Kyoto Animation giving it its own unique twist. Because as much as I love the K-On! Anime, the K-On! Manga is fucking boring. And it's absolutely nothing like the K-On! Anime, which was fun, visually aesthetic, and actually had a really interesting story and great sound design. So yeah, I kind of think it's unfair to say that a series that had basically, you know, almost 10 years advantage over another is superior. I still think I much prefer the music of Hokago Tea Time way more than Bang Dream. Yeah, and I don't know, man, Bang Dream's is just a real try-hard show that tries really hard to beat K-On! And Hokago Tea Time, but just, I don't know, I think just falls flat on its face for being too moe and too synthetic. Lucky Star is not trash and is one of the best slice of life shows, and I'm tired of everyone, especially at cons, making fun of it and calling it trash. My man! Although I personally can't agree with you with the whole, you know, people at cons calling Lucky Star trash, I do definitely think, and I absolutely agree, that yes, I think K-On! Is the greatest slice of life show ever made. And the reason why I believe it is the greatest slice of life show ever made is because it's very dated, but for the right reasons. If you never watched Lucky Star back when it was airing, you'll most likely not enjoy it, or you most likely won't get a lot of the jokes that made Lucky Star so funny. Because a lot of the jokes in the Lucky Star anime actually derive from jokes and inside jokes that were happening within the otaku community back during the golden age, around 2006, 2007 to be exact. That's why you have entire episodes like Konata cosplaying as Suzumiya Haruhi at a Suzumiya Haruhi cafe and all the characters doing the Hare Hare Yukai. When that episode of Lucky Star came out, that caused such a huge roar of laughter within the otaku community at the time because it was an inside joke of the anime industry doings that not many anime series were kind of poking fun at that time. To basically oversimplify and explain the joke if you don't get it, Konata, who is played by voice actress Hirano Aya, was also the voice actress of Suzumiya Haruhi. And yes, although it may seem kind of trivial and hilarious nowadays, and it's probably a joke that you find in a lot of comedy series nowadays, back when Lucky Star came out, no anime series managed to do an inside joke like that to such effectiveness. In the case with Lucky Star, they even went as far as to throw in jokes during the credits, where there are a number of episodes where the series ends with the characters of Lucky Star, the main four girls, in a karaoke room, and them singing songs that were originally sung by the voice actresses that they were being played by. These kinds of inside jokes were just not a thing in anime back then, and Lucky Star was basically the perfect example of showing that and being like, hey, we can make fun of this, we can make fun of ourselves and still have fun with it. I mean, I watched Lucky Star back when it was airing, and I thought it was the funniest fucking thing in the world. And I still look at it back then, I'm like, ha, I remember that, that's hilarious. I think the reason why a lot of people tend to make fun of Lucky Star is due to the very moe-fied art style, which you can't really blame considering Kyoto Animation did take the original art style from the original manga. But yeah, I mean, I fucking love it and I don't care what anyone says. Lucky Star is the greatest slice of life and I will fucking fight you for it. March Comes In Like a Lion is most underrated anime. This anime has a very good story, good drama, and Shaft has made beautiful art on it. But I didn't see this anime on the top 100 best anime ever in a few videos. Why? I think it's just because the genres and the subject matter is just not very easily accessible, especially for people in the West. Because on the surface of it, March Comes In Like a Lion is about a kid who is a pro shogi player, or shogi being like the Japanese equivalent of chess. And it's his struggles to become the best shogi player. It's basically his struggles of trying to overcome his own inner demons to become the best shogi player. And when you throw in a concept that is very Japanese, like shogi, immediately I would say like 8 out of 10 people would just be completely thrown off of it because they're like, oh, I don't know what shogi is, can't relate, not even gonna bother with this. When in reality, if you've actually seen March Comes In Like a Lion, you will know that it very rarely has to do with shogi, and shogi is just a sport that they managed to throw in there that can be easily replaceable with basically every other sport. And I think that's what's so fucking beautiful about March Comes In Like a Lion. It's that it presents itself as just one person's story, when in reality, it can be anyone's story. Anyone can put themselves into the shoes of the main character and relate, because at the end of the day, March Comes In Like a Lion is all about trying to escape your inner demons, trying to get over people's expectations of you and trying to realize the real meaning to what success is in life. And hey, even though I will say that Shaft's art and animation, that is like cocaine for the eyes, I have actually heard a lot of people saying that they didn't really dig the art style of March Comes In Like a Lion, even though they did base it off the original manga again. So yeah, it's just preference. I know I was a little bit disappointed too that it didn't appear in like any of the top 100s that I made. Like, it didn't appear in the top 100 manga, didn't appear in the top 100 anime both times. But I still think it's an absolutely fucking fantastic series that I definitely think anyone can relate to and anyone can enjoy if they really sink themselves into the story. CGI in anime is not that bad as people say it is. I absolutely agree, but Again, CGI can be very easily a double-edged sword. Some anime can make CGI look absolutely fucking awesome. Great examples include Ajin and JoJo Part 1. Even some lesser-known shows like Bubuki Buranki actually did a really fucking good job with their CGI. But then you have some absolutely horrendous CGI like both seasons of Berserk. And I wish I would forget that quicker than I think. The biggest culprit of CGI, more so than both seasons of Berserk, is when they introduce 3D animation within a 2D anime. It never fucking works. CGI crowds in 2D anime have become like a fucking meme at this point because they're so bad. And although, yes, the anime industry is definitely getting better at hiding that CGI, hiding the obvious 3D CG within their 2D anime, it still occasionally sticks out like a pretty bad sore thumb. So yeah, make it all 3D, or don't even bother. That's my take on it. A lot of people saying that Goblin Slayer is trash, repugnant, edgelord, and has crossed the line about what can be shown on TV. Well, edgy maybe, crossed the line I don't think so. Is a seinen adaptation aired late at night for God's sake? Wow, that was almost not English, but I completely understand what you're saying. So like, even though I probably use this point as my thumbnail and title, I'm gonna keep this very brief because I'm sure you're all fucking sick of it at this point. People who say that Goblin Slayer is way too edgy and way too disgusting to be shown on TV need to grow a pair of balls. And also need to stop being fucking hypocritical. These are the same motherfuckers who put shows like Claymore and Berserk on a fucking, like, untouchable pedestal of dark fantasy, and yet Goblin Slayer is the new entry and it's trying to maintain to the mainstream, but they throw in edgy stuff like rape and gore and sex, and oh my god, get this shit out of here. But I'm sitting here looking back, sipping my tea like, what the fuck is the difference between that and, say, stuff that you see in Berserk and Claymore? I saw one guy on Twitter fighting back against this whole, you know, the rape in Goblin Slayer is horrendous by saying, you know, Berserk had rape, Berserk had many scenes of rape in its original manga. To which that person fought back and said, yeah, but Berserk didn't start with a rape scene. Which I think they kind of, you know, shot themselves in the foot considering it kind of did. The opening frame is literally the main character Guts fucking a woman who then turns into a demon halfway through fucking her and tries to kill him, to which Guts stabs him in the heart. So yeah, it's not rape per se, but it's still pretty fucked up. And even if you personally don't think that that's a rape scene, there's a scene where Guts, as a child, gets fucked by another man. Non-consensually, mind you. I think that scene is way more fucked up than Goblin's fucking some of the girls. Because, again, not to harp on about this point because it's probably been already said by hundreds of thousands of people, but the whole thing of Goblins raping the females actually makes sense in the lore of the show. They explain in the show that Goblins don't have female counterparts, and so, in order to reproduce, they have to do some pretty evil shit and rape any female that they see to reproduce. It's not some senseless rape scene that was added just for edgy effect. It made sense in the story, it was used for world building, and it was used for shock value to show you that this isn't just some other isekai fantasy show. This is some fucked up real shit, dog. So yeah, no more on that. This is the first and last time I'm gonna talk about this Goblin Slayer controversy on video. You got what I said. Moving on. FLCL Progressive was disappointing. Kinda. I enjoyed Fully Coolly Progressive and Fully Coolly Alternative for what it was, but I can understand why a lot of people thought it was disappointing, and I literally only think that is because the original Fully Coolly is just put on such a high standard. If you don't know, Fully Coolly is one of my favorite anime series of all time. The first season, Fully Coolly, 6 episodes, is one of the best 6 episodes of anime, period. And so I thought it was a really huge hurdle to basically try and come back over 10 years later to live up to that standard. Like, that's a pretty tall order, even if the original director and producer was working on it. Because think about it like this, what if somebody came back, you know, 10, 15 years later and tried to make a second season of Cowboy Bebop? Even though it may be independently a really fucking good show, most people are probably still gonna say it's disappointing because Cowboy Bebop is put on such a pedestal. So yeah, I agree that Fully Coolly Progressive was not as good as the first Fully Coolly, but I wouldn't say it's disappointing. I still enjoyed Fully Coolly Progressive for what it was. The best anime movie of the 2010s was Redline. Like, holy shit, all those races were more of a drug-filled trip than Pop Team Epic and all of the Monogatari head tilts combined. Okay, I agree with you on the point of Redline being a fucking amazing movie that more people need to watch. Like, oh my god, that show looks and feels so fucking good. Like, that show is better than Sex. But I don't exactly agree with your opinion on calling it the best anime of the 2010s, because that's a really floaty and large umbrellaed word to use. Because best could literally mean anything. It could mean the most commercially successful, the most visually appealing, the most auditorially appealing, the most critically successful, the show that garnered the most amount of merch, the show that garnered the most amount of fan art, the show that became a cult classic movie. Any of those could be fit in with best. And, you know, as much as I love Redline, I still think the best anime movie of the 2010s is still A Silent Voice. But I will absolutely agree that Redline is probably the most underrated and underappreciated movies of the 2010s. Moral of the story is go watch Redline. Please, I beg of you. Anime adaptation of light novels always cut a lot of important details and moments in the story, except when they are adapted to a manga first, and it seriously sucks. I actually disagree with that. I think that it really depends on how you do the adaptation, because some adaptations of light novels manage to keep almost all of the details that were explained and produced in its original light novel and really cleverly adapt that into its anime form. For example, take the Monogatari series. That was stylized in such a way that there is almost zero dialogue that is cut out in that entire 8 or 9 seasons of that show that exists. You know those flashes of text that appear in between scenes? Well, if you actually look closely, those flashes of text are actually dialogues of monologue that Araragi says in his head during the light novel. But they cleverly constructed the narrative in the anime in a way where those flashes of dialogue are basically meaningless. They don't really add to anything. They just show you that Araragi is thinking something in his head, which is almost worthy enough to show on screen, but not integral to understanding the story. And then you have series like Oregairu, which was so cleverly constructed dialogue-wise that you almost don't need any of the monologue from Hachiman to fully get invested and understand the story. Of course, those lines of monologue that were in the original light novel definitely do help. They're not exactly integral as long as the anime is adapted correctly and you can understand the story correctly. Whereas you have really shittily adapted light novels like my all-time favorite, SAO. Like 90% of Kirito's monologue was cut out, and 90% of the dialogue that was cut out is probably the most interesting part of at least the first volume of SAO. So yeah, again, I don't really agree that all light novel adaptations to anime are exactly bad, and I don't necessarily even think that you need a manga adaptation in between for an anime adaptation to be good. It just really depends on the ability of the screenwriter and the producer of the anime adaptation to properly bring the soul of the original light novel into the screen and make it still make sense. Medaka Box is one of the most underrated manga series of all time. Fuck yeah, it is! I have all the volumes of Medaka Box. Down there, you can see it. Zoom in on that shit, editor. Look, this might just be me sucking Nishio Ishin's dick for the 900,000th time of my life, but Medaka Box, at least the manga, is such a great shonen. It is so fucking awesome. It looks good, it's a smart show, it's high impact, and it's a thrilling ride. Like, Medaka Box is just the Nishio Ishin world on steroids. It's so fucking exhilarating, and I love it. So, yeah, if you haven't read Medaka Box, like, fuck the anime adaptation, just read the manga. I don't want to be one of those guys, but read the manga. Henneko deserves a dub, but there is no English-speaking VA that can portray Tsukiko on the same level as Ogura Yui. That ability to portray emotion without emotion just doesn't exist in English speakers. And I feel this is one huge reason that I'm not a huge fan of English dub, or just dub in general. Like, Ogura Yui has such a specific tone and texture to her voice, especially when she plays Tsukiko in Henneko, that I don't really think can be properly translated and portrayed in English. Now, this is not me doubting the ability of English dub voice actors. I mean, fuck, I have friends who are fantastic dub voice actors, and I absolutely respect the skill and talent that some English dub voice actors have. But sometimes English dubs just physically cannot be conveyed and translated to the same effect as its original Japanese sub, most likely due to the fact that those kinds of characters just don't really exist in Western-made productions. Like, think about all of these Hollywood films, all of these English novels and everything, all of these novellas written in English. I can't really think of a character that is quite like Tsukiko. Series like Henneko are just so culturally specific to Japan and Japan's otaku culture that it's very difficult, I feel, to properly convey that in a completely different culture and language. But I mean, hey, if somebody can find a voice actress, like an English dub voice actress, that can absolutely prove me wrong, I would love to see that shit. Blank stale protagonists are terrible. I know the viewer is supposed to be able to project, but I honestly don't get the point of wanting to compare yourself to a character with basically no personality. And hey, that's completely fine. That just means you're not into those kinds of series. And that's, again, completely fine. Like, some people just want to be a third-person perspective in a story, and some people want to experience the story as themselves. Some people are just really fucking horny and want to put themselves in a situation that is very ecchi-filled. I think a great example of a series that does this really well is Monster Musume no Iru Nichijou. In fact, I talked about this with the author, Okada-sensei, in an interview, which I'll leave in the description for those of you who are interested. But yeah, personally, I don't mind shows like that. Like, I enjoyed reading Monster Musume, but I don't necessarily think they're like the most, like, genius shows that are ever written. You know, if you eat steak every day, sometimes you want a hamburger, you know what I mean? And finally, Kokoko is so underrated. So underrated, in fact, doesn't even exist. I think what they were trying to say is Kokoku, but I just had to throw this in because I love to watch an anime called Kokoko. But anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode of Let's Fight. Thank you very much for tuning in to the very end, and thank you to everybody who gave me all of your hot, underrated opinions to bite back at. If you want to watch the previous episodes, I've left them in the links in the description below, and let me know your thoughts and opinions on any of the unpopular opinions I gave back in this video. And if you'd like to participate in the next episode of Let's Fight, then the best place to do it is over on Twitter using that hashtag Let's Fight. Give me your unpopular opinions that will either get me pissed off or will make me fight back and fucking claw at your neck in a video format. And as always, a special thank you to my lovely patrons for this month: Ian Gardner, Nightshade, Stefan Seiniger, Instagatrix, Bogdan Aksinenko, Crescentia, Iochi, Chris Turanek, Steve Lamb, and everybody else on my Patreon who supports me every single month. I think what I might be doing from the next Let's Fight episode is probably taking some of the hot opinions and unpopular opinions from you patrons as a priority before I go onto Twitter. If that sounds like something, you know, you'd be interested in, then I don't know, leave a like on this video, or, you know, leave me your suggestions over on my Patreon or over on my Discord. Links to both of those are in the description below. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. As always, like, favorite if you enjoyed, subscribe for more anime banner, and I'll see you guys in the next video of whatever I make. Keep watching anime. Johnny!